Hello and welcome. Think with me for a moment about two kinds of people. When they face a difficult challenge or a major failure, they react in completely opposite ways. The first person gets completely blocked. They get discouraged, tell themselves, I'm just not cut out for this, or this proves I'm a failure, and they ultimately give up. The second person, while still feeling the pain of that failure, sees it as an opportunity. They ask, okay, what can I learn from this mistake? And then they try again, but smarter. What's the real difference between these two people? It's not intelligence or talent. According to world-renowned researcher Carol Dweck in her famous book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, the difference comes down to one word: mindset. In this video, we are going to break down this life-changing idea, the difference between a fixed mindset, which is the belief that your abilities are limited, and a growth mindset, the belief that you can develop anything through effort and learning. Stay with me because I'm going to give you practical, science-backed steps to build a growth mindset that will unlock your full potential. Section 1. The foundational power of belief, an introduction to mindset theory. At the heart of Stanford University psychologist Carol S. Dweck's influential book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, lies a simple but revolutionary proposition. Success is not merely a product of innate talent or ability. Instead, our achievements in nearly every domain of life are dramatically shaped by our most fundamental beliefs about those talents and abilities. After decades of meticulous research, Dweck concluded that the view you adopt for yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life, creating distinct paths of human endeavor. This foundational belief system, which she terms a mindset, is the critical variable that explains why some individuals are energized by challenges while others are derailed by them. This theory postulates that our mindsets function as implicit theories, the unstated, often unconscious assumptions we hold about the malleability of human characteristics. These theories are not just passive opinions. They act as a powerful lens or framework through which we interpret our experiences, judge the meaning of events, and ultimately formulate our responses. A person's mindset dictates how they define and approach success, how they process and react to failure, and the value they place on effort. It is this chain of causality, from belief to interpretation to action, that determines our outcomes and shapes the trajectory of our lives. The genesis of this theory emerged from Dweck's early observations in her research with children. She noticed a stark divergence in how students coped with failure and difficulty. When presented with puzzles that grew progressively harder, some children relished the challenge, seeing it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Others, however, quickly became discouraged and gave up, viewing the difficulty as a sign of their own inadequacy. This schism in response to setbacks could not be explained by intelligence alone. It was this puzzle that launched Dweck on a decades-long inquiry into the underlying psychological mechanisms that drive motivation, resilience, and achievement, culminating in the identification of two core mindsets: fixed and growth. To fully grasp the power of this concept, it is useful to think of a mindset not as a simple attitude or a personality trait, but as a fundamental psychological operating system. This system runs in the background, processing all incoming data, challenges, feedback, setbacks, and the success of others, and dictates which behavioral programs are executed in response. A fixed mindset operating system is programmed with the primary directive of self-preservation and validation. Its goal is to protect the perceived integrity of its static code, innate ability. A growth mindset operating system, by contrast, is programmed for adaptation and development. Its core function is to learn from new data and upgrade its own capabilities. This distinction explains why a simple surface-level command like "just try harder" often fails. To a fixed mindset system, the instruction "try harder" is interpreted not as a helpful strategy, but as evidence of a critical system flaw, a lack of inherent intelligence. The instruction conflicts with the operating system's core programming. Therefore, meaningful change cannot occur at the level of simple behavioral instruction. It must address the underlying belief system, the operating system itself. This explains both why changing one's mindset can be so challenging and why, when achieved, its effects are so profound and far-reaching.
Section 2. The Two Worlds of Mindset, a Dichotomy of Belief. Carol Dweck's research distills the complex landscape of human motivation into a powerful dichotomy between two fundamental belief systems. These are not merely different points of view, they create entirely different psychological worlds, each with its own logic, values, and definitions of success, failure, and effort. Understanding this core distinction is the first step toward comprehending the full scope of the theory's implications. The first of these belief systems is the fixed mindset, also referred to in academic literature as an entity theory. This is the conviction that one's core qualities, such as intelligence, personality, creative ability, and talent, are static, innate, and unchangeable traits. From this perspective, you have a certain amount of intelligence or a specific type of personality, and that is that. These qualities are perceived as being carved in stone, a permanent hand you have been dealt. This belief creates a psychological imperative to constantly prove that you have a healthy dose of these desirable fixed traits. In stark contrast stands the growth mindset, also known as an incremental theory. This is the belief that one's most basic abilities can be developed and cultivated through dedication, hard work, learning, and perseverance. Individuals with a growth mindset understand that brains and talent are merely the starting point for development. While they do not deny that people may differ in their initial aptitudes or temperaments, they hold the fundamental belief that everyone can change and grow through experience and practice. This perspective fosters a love of learning and a resilience that is essential for great accomplishment. Crucially, Dweck's work emphasizes that these mindsets are not permanent personality fixtures. They are powerful beliefs, and beliefs can be consciously examined and changed. This finding is the central message of hope in the book, suggesting that individuals are not consigned to one psychological world or the other. They have the agency to choose the beliefs that will best serve them, transforming their lives and unlocking their potential in the process. Section 3. Inside the Fixed Mindset, the Psychology of Proving. To enter the fixed mindset is to enter a world governed by judgment. Because the core belief is that fundamental qualities like intelligence and talent are static, an urgent and consuming need for validation arises. Life becomes a series of tests, each one a potential confirmation or condemnation of one's inherent worth. Each situation, in the classroom, in a career, in a relationship, is filtered through a critical lens, prompting a cascade of evaluative questions. Will I succeed or fail? Will I look smart or dumb? Will I be accepted or rejected? This relentless focus on proving oneself leaves little room for growth, as the primary psychological energy is directed toward maintaining a positive image rather than developing underlying skills. Within this framework, failure is not merely a setback, it is a catastrophe. It is perceived as a direct and permanent indictment of one's core abilities. Dweck's research highlights a profound psychological transformation that occurs in the face of failure for those with a fixed mindset. The action, "I failed," morphs into an identity, I am a failure. This explains the intense fear of failure that characterizes this mindset and the desperate measures individuals will take to avoid it, such as shying away from valuable challenges where success is not guaranteed. This pattern of ruminating on setbacks as definitive proof of incompetence can have serious mental health consequences, with studies showing a correlation between a fixed mindset and higher levels of depression. Instead of learning from mistakes, individuals in this mindset often resort to protecting their fragile ego by finding excuses, blaming others, or simply giving up. Effort in the world of the fixed mindset is deeply paradoxical. On one hand, it is necessary for any achievement. On the other, the very need to exert significant effort is seen as a sign of deficiency. The underlying logic is that if you were truly smart or naturally talented, you would not need to try so hard. This belief creates a powerful disincentive to put in hard work. Furthermore, it creates a high-stakes gamble. Putting in your best effort and still failing is the ultimate, undeniable confirmation of inadequacy. It is a risk many are unwilling to take, leading them to resist effort or even sabotage their own performance to have a built-in excuse for failure. This entire psychological orientation, focused on judgment rather than improvement, leads to a distorted view of one's own capabilities. Dweck's research found that individuals with a fixed mindset often have inaccurate views of their assets and limitations. This is because they are not oriented toward learning. Brainwave studies have provided a neurological window into this phenomenon. When individuals with a fixed mindset made a mistake on a difficult task, their brains showed little activity or interest when presented with the correct answer. They had already processed the event as a failure and effectively tuned out the information that could have helped them learn and improve. Their world is about passing judgment, not facilitating growth. The mechanics of the fixed mindset create a powerful self-perpetuating cycle of stagnation. This system does not just passively believe in fixed traits, it actively works to make that belief a reality. The process unfolds in a predictable, closed loop. It begins with the core belief. For instance, I am inherently bad at public speaking. This belief then dictates a series of behaviors designed to protect the ego from the proof of this inadequacy. The individual will avoid opportunities to speak in public, shying away from presentations or leadership roles that require it. When forced to speak, the anxiety and belief in their own incompetence may lead them to withhold full effort in preparation, providing a ready-made excuse for a poor performance. If they receive feedback on how to improve, they are likely to interpret it as personal criticism of their fixed ability and disregard it. The inevitable outcome of these behaviors, avoiding challenges, withdrawing effort, and rejecting feedback, is that their public speaking skills will not improve. This lack of improvement is then taken as definitive proof of the original belief. See, I told you I was bad at this. The prophecy is fulfilled not because the initial belief was an objective truth, but because the mindset itself generated the very conditions required to confirm it, effectively locking the individual into a state of arrested development.
Section 4. Inside the Growth Mindset. The Psychology of Improving. The world of the growth mindset operates on a fundamentally different premise. Here, the core belief that abilities are malleable and can be cultivated through effort creates not a hunger for approval, but a genuine passion for learning. The primary psychological goal shifts away from validating oneself and toward the more dynamic and rewarding process of developing oneself. This mindset is characterized by a desire to stretch, to grow, and to embrace the journey of improvement, even when it is difficult. In this world, the meaning of failure is radically transformed. It is no longer a verdict on one's permanent abilities, but rather a crucial data point in the learning process. While a setback may still sting, it does not define the individual's identity. The growth mindset frames difficulty not as a stop sign, but as an indicator of where more effort and new strategies are needed. This is the essence of what Dweck calls the power of not yet. A statement like, "I can't solve this problem," is implicitly or explicitly reframed as, "I can't solve this problem yet." This simple addition transforms a statement of permanent limitation into one of temporary state, opening up a path forward. Neurological evidence supports this reframing. Brainwave studies show that when individuals with a growth mindset encounter their own mistakes, their brains show sustained activity. They remain engaged, process the error, and actively seek to learn from it, demonstrating a neurobiological orientation toward improvement. Effort, far from being a sign of weakness, is seen as the very engine of ability in the growth mindset. It is the indispensable ingredient that activates and develops talent. Individuals with this belief understand that effort, persistence, and dedication are what make a person smart or skilled. They value the process of striving and learning, often regardless of the immediate outcome, because they know that the process itself is what leads to mastery. The remarkable story of actor Christopher Reeve, who, after being paralyzed, defied medical prognoses by regaining some movement through relentless effort, serves as a powerful testament to this belief in the power of sustained, dedicated work to cultivate ability. This orientation toward learning and development fosters a more accurate and resilient sense of self. Because their goal is improvement, individuals with a growth mindset actively seek information about their current capabilities, leading to what Dweck's research calls remarkable accuracy in self-insight. They welcome constructive feedback, seeing it not as criticism, but as a gift of valuable information that can guide their efforts. This, in turn, builds profound resilience, the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. A setback is not a reflection of a permanent flaw, but simply a problem to be confronted and overcome, a challenge that makes the journey of growth more meaningful. Just as the fixed mindset creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of stagnation, the growth mindset generates a self-reinforcing upward spiral of development. The system is designed to produce and build upon success. This positive feedback loop also unfolds in a logical sequence. It starts with the core belief, for example, learning a new language is difficult, but I can improve with practice. This belief encourages behaviors that facilitate growth. The individual will encourage the challenge of enrolling in a language class. When they struggle with grammar or vocabulary, they will persist with effort, trying new study strategies or seeking extra help, because they see this struggle as a natural part of the learning process. They will actively solicit feedback from their instructor and peers, using corrections to refine their skills. This direct outcome of these behaviors, seeking challenges, applying persistent effort, and integrating feedback, is tangible improvement in their language ability. This real, measurable progress then validates and strengthens the initial belief that they are capable of growth. This reinforced belief, in turn, makes them more confident and more likely to tackle even greater linguistic challenges in the future, creating a virtuous cycle of motivation, effort, and achievement. Section 5. Mindset in Action. Applications across life's domains. The dichotomy between fixed and growth mindsets is not a mere theoretical curiosity confined to the psychology laboratory. It is a powerful, predictive framework with profound and tangible consequences that manifest across every major area of human life, from the classroom to the boardroom, the athletic field, and our most intimate relationships. The mindset an individual holds acts as a silent but powerful force, shaping their trajectory and defining their potential for success. 5.1. Education and Child Development. The educational arena is where Dweck's research began, and where its implications are perhaps most stark and actionable. One of the most counterintuitive and impactful findings from her work relates to the language of praise. seminal studies revealed that praising children for their intelligence or talent, as in, "you're so smart," inadvertently pushes them into a fixed mindset. This form of praise teaches them that success is about having an innate gift, which leads them to fear challenges that might expose them as not being so smart after all. In contrast, praising the process, effort, strategy, focus, and persistence, "I like how you try different strategies," fosters a growth mindset. This process-focused praise teaches children that success comes from hard work and learning, encouraging them to embrace challenges and build resilience in the face of setbacks. This difference in mindset translates directly into student behavior. In Dweck's famous puzzle studies, children who were praised for their intelligence consistently chose to redo an easy puzzle rather than attempt a harder one. Their primary goal, instilled by the praise, was to keep looking smart and avoid the risk of failure. Conversely, children praised for their effort overwhelmingly chose the more difficult puzzle, seeing it as an opportunity to learn something new and stretch their abilities. This demonstrates how, from a young age, mindset dictates whether the goal of an activity is validation or development. Ultimately, these differing approaches have a significant impact on academic achievement. Multiple studies have shown that students who hold a growth mindset tend to earn higher grades and have higher GPAs, an effect that is particularly pronounced when they encounter challenging academic transitions, such as the move to middle school or high school. In a landmark national study of over 13,000 ninth-grade students, a brief online intervention designed to teach a growth mindset not only improved grades for lower-achieving students, but also led to higher-achieving students being more likely to take advanced math courses in the subsequent year, demonstrating the power of the mindset to influence both performance and aspirational choices. 5.2. Business, Leadership, and Organizational Culture. The principles of mindset theory scale from the individual to the collective, profoundly influencing the culture and performance of entire organizations. A company's collective mindset can create either a culture of genius or a culture of development. In fixed mindset organizations, talent is seen as a rare commodity to be hired, not developed. There is often a worship of naturals, and employees live in fear of making mistakes or admitting deficiencies, which stifles risk-taking and collaboration. In growth mindset organizations, talent is seen as potential to be developed, and they create a culture that values learning, teamwork, resilience, and innovation. Leadership is the linchpin in creating this culture. Leaders with a growth mindset see potential in their employees and are dedicated to developing that talent. They are open to challenges, comfortable with setbacks, and view setbacks as learning opportunities for the entire team. Fixed mindset leaders, on the other hand, often feel threatened by the abilities of their subordinates. They are more focused on judging and ranking employees than on developing them, which can create a toxic environment of internal competition and fear. For any organization seeking to foster a growth culture, leadership buy-in is the indispensable first step. Several prominent companies have explicitly integrated mindset theory into their operations. Technology giants like Google and NASA actively recruit for a growth mindset, looking for what they call learning animals, candidates who love challenges and demonstrate a passion for continuous learning and adaptation. The health insurance company Cigna embarked on a deliberate campaign to embed a growth mindset into its corporate culture. Through town halls, lunch and learn sessions, and revised talent management guidelines that encouraged setting stretch goals, the company successfully cultivated more visible growth-oriented behaviors among its employees, demonstrating that organizational mindset can be intentionally changed. The world of entrepreneurship provides another powerful case study. A growth mindset is invaluable for founders who must constantly learn new skills, navigate extreme uncertainty, and persevere through inevitable failures. The story of India Wright, who successfully transitioned from a career in banking and law.
5.4. Sports and Peak Performance.
The world of sports is often perceived as the ultimate domain of innate physical talent. However, Dweck's work powerfully challenges this notion. An athlete with a growth mindset operates from the belief that champions are made through relentless dedication, intelligent practice, and the willingness to learn from every failure. They see talent as just the starting point, not the final determinant of success. Perhaps the most iconic example of a growth mindset athlete is Michael Jordan. Famously cut from his high school varsity basketball team, Jordan did not interpret this failure as a verdict on his talent. Instead, he used it as fuel, motivating him to work with unparalleled intensity on his skills, ultimately becoming what many consider the greatest basketball player of all time. His story is a testament to how a growth mindset can transform a setback into a catalyst for extraordinary achievement. The athlete-coach relationship is another area where mindset is critical. An athlete with a fixed mindset is likely to view constructive feedback from a coach as personal criticism, a judgment on their fixed ability. This can lead to defensiveness and a failure to improve. In contrast, a growth mindset athlete actively seeks and values feedback, seeing it as essential information that can help them get better. A soccer player who listens to their coach's advice on defensive positioning and immediately works to apply it in the next game is demonstrating a growth mindset in action. This mindset also builds the resilience necessary to bounce back from mistakes, like a missed game-winning free throw or a fall during a gymnastics routine, by framing them as learning opportunities rather than defining failures. It also shapes an athlete's internal monologue or self-talk, shifting it from a fixed statement like, "I'm not fast enough," to a process-oriented one like, "I've trained hard and I'm ready to give my best effort." 5.4. Interpersonal relationships. The influence of mindset extends into our most personal domains, including our romantic relationships. Dweck's research revealed that our beliefs about malleability affect what we seek in a partner and how we navigate the inevitable challenges of being with another person. Individuals with a fixed mindset often believe in the idea of a perfect match and instant, perfect, and perpetual compatibility. They tend to look for a partner who will validate them, put them on a pedestal, and make them feel perfect. They believe that if a relationship is meant to be, it should not require effort. Individuals with a growth mindset have a different view. They believe that a good relationship is one that challenges them to grow. They seek a partner who will see their faults and lovingly help them to improve, someone who will encourage them to learn new things and become a better person. They understand that relationships, like any other worthwhile endeavor, require effort, and that challenges and conflicts are not signs that the relationship is doomed, but rather opportunities for growth and for deepening the connection. When conflicts do arise, these differing mindsets lead to vastly different responses. The fixed mindset tends to assign blame, often attributing the problem to a partner's unchangeable character flaw. This leads to feelings of anger and contempt, as the problem is seen as unsolvable. The growth mindset, however, views conflicts as communication problems or differences of perspective that can be worked through. They believe that both the partners and the relationship itself are capable of growth and change, fostering an atmosphere of trust and collaboration. Across all these diverse domains, from a child learning math to a CEO leading a company, an athlete competing for a championship, or a couple navigating a disagreement, a consistent pattern emerges. The most significant differentiator between the two mindsets reveals itself not during times of ease and success, but in the crucible of adversity. Mindset theory does not predict whether an individual will face a difficult problem, a market downturn, a tough loss, or a relationship conflict. It powerfully predicts their response when they do. The fixed mindset consistently leads to a defensive, fragile, and ultimately stagnant response aimed at protecting a static sense of self. The growth mindset, in contrast, consistently leads to a resilient, constructive, and developmental response aimed at learning and improving. Therefore, cultivating a growth mindset is, in essence, equipping oneself with a robust psychological toolkit for navigating the inevitable challenges and difficulties inherent in any meaningful pursuit. Section 6. The Path to a True Growth Mindset, Practical Strategies for Cultivation. Transitioning from a predominantly fixed to a growth mindset is not a matter of flipping a switch. It is an active, conscious, and ongoing journey. Dweck's research provides a clear roadmap for this journey, offering evidence-based strategies that can be applied to cultivate a growth mindset in oneself, in children, and within organizations. This process involves becoming aware of one's existing beliefs, reframing internal and external language, actively choosing growth-oriented behaviors, and creating an environment that supports this development. Step 1. Acknowledge and understand your fixed mindset. The crucial first step is to recognize that a pure growth mindset is a myth. Everyone is a mixture of both fixed and growth mindsets, and we can be triggered into a fixed-minded state by different situations. The goal is not to surgically remove the fixed mindset, but to become aware of it, understand its triggers, and learn to manage its influence. A powerful technique for achieving this awareness is to identify the specific situations that activate your fixed-minded thoughts. Common triggers include facing a major new challenge, receiving pointed criticism, or comparing yourself to someone who is more successful in an area you value. Once these triggers are identified, Dweck suggests giving your fixed-minded persona a name, such as Anxious Andy or Critical Kathy. This seemingly simple act of naming helps to externalize the fixed-minded voice. It allows you to observe it as a separate entity, rather than as your true self, which undermines its power and gives you the psychological space to choose a different response. Step 2. Reframe language and self-talk. Language is the code of our mindset. Changing our words can reprogram our beliefs. The single most powerful linguistic tool Dweck offers is the power of yet. This involves consciously adding the word yet to fixed mindset statements. I can't do this becomes I can't do this yet. I'm not good at this becomes I'm not good at this yet. This simple addition reframes a statement of permanent limitation into a description of a temporary state on a learning curve, inherently implying a path forward. This reframing should also be applied to the praise we give to others and to ourselves. The focus must shift away from praising innate fixed traits and towards praising the process of growth. Instead of saying, "You're a natural genius," a more effective statement is, "I was so impressed by the different strategies you tried to solve that problem." Instead of, "You're so smart," a growth-oriented alternative is, "Your dedication and hard work really paid off on this project." This process-focused language reinforces the idea that success is a result of controllable actions, not immutable traits.
Step 3. Actively embrace the growth path. A growth mindset is not just a belief, it is a set of behaviors. Cultivating it requires actively choosing actions that align with the principles of growth. Seek and embrace challenges. This means intentionally stepping outside of one's comfort zone. Challenges should be viewed not as threats to be avoided, but as the primary mechanism for learning and development. This requires a conscious decision to take on tasks that stretch one's abilities. Reframe failure and setbacks. Mistakes must be redefined as valuable sources of information and opportunities for growth, not as verdicts of incompetence. One can even learn to celebrate mistakes as evidence that learning is happening. The story of Spanx founder Sarah Blakely, whose father would ask her at the dinner table what she had failed at that week and celebrate her attempts, is a powerful example of how to normalize and learn from failure, reframing it as not trying versus an undesirable outcome. Value and seek feedback. Instead of viewing feedback as criticism, it must be actively sought out and treated as a gift of crucial information. Constructive feedback is the compass that guides improvement, and embracing it is a hallmark of a growth-oriented individual. Step 4. Create a growth mindset environment. For parents, educators, and leaders, a key part of the journey is to create a culture where these growth-oriented beliefs and behaviors are the norm. This goes beyond hanging inspirational posters. It requires implementing practices that embody the growth mindset. This involves leaders modeling growth mindset behavior themselves by taking on new challenges,
openly discussing their own mistakes and what they learned from them, and actively seeking feedback from their teams. It means setting consistently high standards while communicating the belief that everyone can reach them with effort and support. It requires creating a psychologically safe space where appropriate risk-taking is encouraged and failure is treated as a vital part of innovation and learning process. By embedding these principles into the daily practices, feedback systems, and core values of a family, classroom, or organization, one can create a powerful ecosystem that naturally fosters and sustains a true growth mindset. Section 7. Beyond the hype, nuances, critiques, and the false growth mindset. For any influential psychological theory, an expert-level analysis requires moving beyond simple advocacy to engage with its nuances, limitations, and the academic controversies it has generated. While the core concepts of mindset have been widely embraced, the theory is not without its critics. A balanced perspective must acknowledge the validity of some of these concerns, particularly those related to oversimplification, replicability, and the potential for misuse. 7.1. The false growth mindset, a theory misunderstood. Ironically, one of the most trenchant critics of the popular interpretation of mindset theory has been Carol Dweck herself. She has frequently spoken out against the oversimplification and misapplication of her work, coining the term false growth mindset to describe these distortions. Understanding these common misinterpretations is crucial for cultivating a true growth mindset. It's not just about effort. The most common misconception is to equate a growth mindset with simply praising effort. While effort is a key component, it is not the whole story. A true growth mindset is about learning and improvement. Praising effort that is fruitless or based on a flawed strategy is not helpful. The focus must be on effort as a means to an end, trying new strategies when one isn't working, seeking help from others, and persevering intelligently toward the goal of learning and mastery. It's not just a positive outlook. A growth mindset is often confused with having a generally positive, open-minded, or flexible attitude. While these traits may be correlated, the growth mindset is a specific belief about the malleability of one's fundamental abilities. It is possible to be a cheerful, optimistic person who still holds a deep-seated belief that they are just not a math person. It's not a binary state. A false growth mindset often involves believing that one either has a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. In reality, Dweck emphasizes that everyone is a mixture of both. We may have a growth mindset in one area of our lives, example, athletics, and a fixed mindset in another, artistic ability. Furthermore, even those with a predominantly growth mindset can be triggered into a fixed mindset state by certain situations. Acknowledging this complexity and observing one's own fixed mindset triggers is a hallmark of a true growth mindset. 7.2. The academic debate, replication, and effect size. In the academic world, the ultimate test of a theory is its replicability and the magnitude of its effects. Mindset theory has faced significant scrutiny on both fronts. A number of researchers have reported failures to replicate some of Dweck's original findings in different contexts. Furthermore, several large-scale meta-analyses, which aggregate the results of many studies, have concluded that while the effect of mindset interventions is statistically significant, it is often small. This has led to notations that the theory has been overhyped and has overpromised and under-delivered.
Proponents of the theory, including Dweck, offer several counterarguments. They suggest that many replication failures and the small overall effect sizes are a result of weak or poorly implemented interventions. A one-time 30-minute lecture on mindset is unlikely to change deeply ingrained beliefs in coping mechanisms. They also argue that the impact of mindset is highly context-dependent. The benefits are often most pronounced for specific populations, such as low-achieving students or any individual facing a significant challenge. When studies smush together the results for all participants, including high achievers who may already be highly motivated and have little room for grade improvement, the powerful effect on the most vulnerable students can be diluted, making the overall average effect seem small. 7.3. Systemic barriers versus individual responsibility. Perhaps the most serious ethical critique of mindset theory is that when applied crudely, it can become a tool for victim blaming. An overemphasis on individual mindset and grit can inadvertently place the burden of failure on students or employees, while ignoring the powerful systemic factors that may be the true cause of their struggles. A growth mindset alone cannot overcome the disadvantages of poverty, systemic discrimination, under-resourced schools, or significant learning disabilities like dyslexia or ADHD. Critics argue that telling a student in a failing school that they just need a better mindset is not only ineffective but also unfair, as it makes them feel responsible for circumstances far beyond their control. Similarly, the theory can be misinterpreted as a denial of the existence of innate differences in talent or intelligence. The more nuanced and correct interpretation is not that everyone's starting point is identical, but that a growth mindset helps every individual maximize their potential, whatever their starting point may be. It is about making the most of the hand you were dealt, not pretending that everyone is dealt the same hand. 7.4. Unintended negative consequences. Some critics have pointed to more subtle but potentially damaging psychological consequences of a relentless focus on growth. One writer has termed this a growth fetish, arguing that the constant pressure to be growing and improving can be a source of anxiety and stress. It may not allow for strategic mediocrity, the conscious choice to not excel in every single aspect of life, and can devalue the simple, fulfilling act of being rather than always becoming. This perspective suggests that a healthy life requires balance and that there must be room to process difficult emotions, like sorrow or disappointment, without immediately feeling the need to optimize them into a learning experience. Furthermore, some research suggests that for certain individuals, particularly high performers, a growth mindset intervention can paradoxically lead to worse performance. For someone who has always succeeded and believes they are naturally gifted, introducing the idea that ability is malleable can also introduce the fear that their ability could decrease, creating a negative self-fulfilling prophecy. The entire controversy surrounding mindset serves as a fascinating case study in the communication of science. The journey of the theory from nuanced academic research to a global best-selling concept required a degree of simplification. It was this simplified, easily digestible version, often boiled down to praise effort, not talent, that fueled its massive popularity in schools and businesses. However, it is this same simplified version that is most vulnerable to criticism. When researchers test this pop psychology version of the theory, they often find the small effects and contextual limitations that lead to charges of overhype. This in turn prompts Dweck and her colleagues to clarify the nuances of the original theory and decry the false growth mindset. This creates a cycle where the theory's popular success is in many ways the direct cause of its most prominent criticisms. A truly expert understanding of mindset, therefore, requires distinguishing between a critique of the rigorous academic theory and a critique of its often simplified popular application. Section 8. Conclusion. Synthesizing mindset for authentic success. Carol S. Dweck's Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, presents a compelling and powerful framework for understanding the roots of human achievement. The research synthesized in the book makes a clear case that our underlying beliefs about the nature of our own abilities, the dichotomy between a fixed and a growth mindset, are a formidable predictor of our life's trajectory. This influence is not abstract. It manifests in the tangible outcomes we see in education, business, sports, and our personal relationships. The fixed mindset, with its core belief in static traits, fosters a world of judgment, fragility, and stagnation. The growth mindset, with its belief in the potential for development, creates a world of learning, resilience, and continuous improvement. However, a deep engagement with the theory and its surrounding discourse reveals that a growth mindset is not a simple platitude or a magic bullet for success. The journey to a true growth mindset is a complex psychological endeavor that goes far beyond the simplistic mantra of praise effort. It requires a commitment to the entire learning process, the courage to confront challenges, the resilience to persevere through inevitable setbacks, the intellectual humility to seek out new strategies when old ones fail, the openness to learn from constructive feedback, and the capacity to find inspiration rather than threat in the success of others. Ultimately, the power of mindset theory lies in its nuanced and thoughtful application. The critiques surrounding the theory are not grounds for its dismissal, but are essential guideposts for its proper use. It must be applied with a keen awareness of the systemic and structural factors that shape individual lives, with an appreciation for its limitations, and with a firm rejection of the superficial, false growth mindset. When understood and implemented with this depth and nuance, the belief that we can grow does not offer a guarantee of easy success. Instead, it provides something far more valuable, a resilient and empowering foundation for a life of authentic accomplishment, continuous learning, and boundless potential.
So the key takeaway from the book Mindset is that your belief about your abilities is more important than the abilities themselves. Life gives you a choice between two mindsets, a fixed mindset that holds you in place, and a growth mindset that pushes you forward and opens doors you never imagined. And the most powerful tool I want you to leave with today is the power of the word yet. The next time you think to yourself, I can't do this, just add that one simple word, I can't do this yet. This word transforms a final, crushing judgment into a journey that is still ongoing and open to learning. And my question for you today is, what is the one thing you used to tell yourself, I'm just not good at, that after today, you've decided to add the word yet to? Share your thoughts with me in the comments below. If you liked this video and found it helpful, don't forget to hit the like button to support the content and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to stay updated on all topics in self-development. Thanks so much for watching, and always remember, you are a work in progress. See you in the next one.